See.
All right, we're live. Yay.
Yes. Hi, guys. So this is the Brown Girl Book Club. This is our May book, and we have a guest with us today. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Mina. My channel's called Mina Reads if you want to check me out. But yeah.
So I think I put the link to her channel in the description, so you can totally check it out at any time. She's like the queen of like romance books. I really love your like Black Love readathon videos. They're so great. I love them so much.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to post Black Loveathon again. I'm really excited about it, actually.
So you are planning on doing it again?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, yes. I'm so happy. Like sometime this year, maybe?
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe like late summer.
Late summer? Okay. When people might be transitioning into that fall, like, ambiance, you're like, no, we're still doing romance.
Yes. Let me just quickly tweet about this so we can make sure that, like, people are coming.
Yeah. I always mess up and I'm never able to, like, tweet out properly, like, while live streaming. It's just always a mess. I can never get it straight.
Yeah, I'm just going to give them the link really quick. All right.
Cool. And then today we're talking about Soft on Soft, which is this cute, like, sapphic romance. And it's so adorable. And I also did want to talk about Black love. So if you have any questions about Black love in literature and like entertainment, leave your like comments down below. I'd love to answer them. I have questions for Mina because I was like, I came ready. I was like, just in case, because I'm also a very nosy person. So I'm like, I already had lots of questions for you. So I hope you don't mind
that. I'm ready for all the questions.
Great.
Let's go.
Okay. So my first question to you is, what do you define is like Black love? Like in like the simplest of terms.
Okay, so in the simplest of terms, I would say that Black love, typically in my definition of it, it would be like a Black couple, like both parties are Black. But I do obviously think that like love between Black people and like interracial love and all that is still like really valid. But when I talk about like Black love and Black romance, I'm typically talking about Black couples. That would be my personal definition for it.
Mm-hmm. And like, what inspired you to do your Black love readathon? Was it because you like wanted to read more Black love lit? I already know you read so much of it. So was it for like others to encourage others?
Yeah, I really wanted to encourage other people to read some Black romance because I personally feel like in the community, when we decide to read like diverse books, we tend to read books that are kind of like rooted in oppression and like talking about like really serious topics, which are so valid and those books are really necessary. But I also think that there's like room in like diverse reading for reading happy, soft, sweet books. And so I just wanted to make like a little bit of space for that and also really like engage the romance community and make sure that we're reading diversely in the romance community, because I feel like a lot of times like people who read like literary fiction, for example, like they, you know, there's a lot of literary fiction that comes out about Black people and it's usually rooted in like oppression or something like that. And then they'll read those books during Black History Month. So I wanted to make sure that there was something for the romance community to engage with during Black History Month. So that was like my main motivation.
That's really cool. And I especially agree the fact that we need to expand from Black trauma. I know books and bow ties and books always talks about that, not just focusing on Black trauma and focusing on Black love. And I really appreciate that. And I just feel like, I don't know, I also feel like romance can also stem a lot from Black trauma, that like we're together, but it's so hard because you're Black. And that topic is just like, it's like we're in 2020, like once a year, maybe I can pick up one of those, but can we move along? Yeah, so I totally feel that and totally agree. So I was also wanted to ask, what would be your like number one like recommended Black love book for people?
It would definitely be Christina C. Jones' book. She has so many books that it's like hard for me to pick because I love them all. She's like the most prolific author I know about. I think she's written like almost 60 books at this point. It's like insane.
And yeah, published, right?
Yeah, she's self-published. She has so many books and like so many different subgenres. Like she has like paranormal and like she has like mystery suspense stuff. So I'm trying to think of like what I would definitely recommend. I think I think I would probably recommend her novella series. It's called the Love Sisters trilogy, and they're like really short. They're only like 100 pages, but they're like rom-coms, black rom-coms, and they're so fun. I love them so much. So that would be like my ultimate recommendation. I just think that they're really fun and sweet.
That's cool. Have you ever read the only other romance besides Soft on Soft? Because I'm kind of a baby. I'm just approaching the romance genre right now. But the only other romance that I've read is Along the Ride. Have you read that yet? I don't remember the author's name. I think it's like
I think it's by Mimi Grace.
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen the cover. The cover for that book is so beautiful. I really want to read it, but I just haven't like bought it yet. But it is on my TBR. I am gonna get to it soon.
I definitely liked it. It was definitely like a really good introduction to romance, I find, because it was very like, I find it to be very gentle. Kind of like how Soft on Soft today was very much like subtly like very cute. But with Along the Ride, they were so aggressive. Like the characters themselves, like the progression was slow, but like the character sass level was so high. I cherished it.
Oh, I love that. I'm definitely really excited to read that, but I just keep forgetting about it. I don't know. But thank you for reminding me, because I do need to get to that one.
Yeah. I mean, we always just have those TBRs that are just ever growing. Oh my God, someone said it's 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. their time. That is absurd. I'm so sorry.
Thank you for joining.
I know, right? Much respect. I go to bed at like, I swear, like 10 or 11 every night.
I feel you.
And then I also wanted to ask, not to like call out authors or anything like that, but I also wanted to ask, what is something that you find that's harmful for Black love? Like, what is something that you kind of want to stop seeing?
I'm trying to think of like, because that's a really good question. I have seen a lot of like my favorite authors in like the Black romance genre or like subsection. They've been talking a lot about there being some books that are harmful to like Black love and Black romance. I think I heard something about a book that came out somewhat recently, and it was like an interracial romance, and it was about a girl who like really was, I don't know, like self-loathing, and her self-loathing was like due to her race, and being in an interracial relationship is what like made her be happy or something like that, or made her feel more confident, and it just seemed a bit like off. So I think that there's something to be said about like interracial romance that's really rooted in like the Black character being anti-Black and like having a lot of self-hatred. I think that those kinds of books are not super healthy, just in general. And for like a Black romance period, I think that those types of books typically they show like Black men in a bad light. It's just like they're not always great, because those kind of books typically are between like a Black woman and a white man. So it's always like a little bit weird.
It always end up being Black men that are like self-deprecating in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would like to see change is that I read a book recently, and it was just so based in stereotypes. Like they were both Black, and the girl was very like prissy and like didn't have her natural hair, and she's like, I had to get my hair done, and the guy was like, oh, I'm like so scary and intimidating. And it was just so stereotypical. Like they weren't real people. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is happening? So I definitely want people just to stop relying on stereotypes, because that's like the least interesting thing. It's like there's a bazillion books. Can you please like use your imagination just a little bit, just a tad?
Yeah, that sounds terrible. Yeah, that sounds
definitely.
If I could like recommend some Black romance authors, I would definitely recommend Nia Forrester. She writes good Black romance. Also, Jacinta Howard, and who else? Dylan Allen, Christina C. Jones, obviously. Nicole
I'm gonna ask you to make a list, and I'm gonna post it, because I would love to know. Because I definitely want to dive more into like romance.
Yeah, I definitely think that they're good at writing like characters that are in depth and they don't feel like stereotypes at all. So I would definitely recommend those.
Oh yes. And then I wanted to ask you a controversial question.
Okay.
How do you feel about white authors writing about Black love? Not like a biracial like couple, like Black with Black love. You know, how do you feel about that?
I don't know how I feel about it. at all. I would say a book that I read somewhat recently was by Tessa Bailey, and I think both of the characters were supposed to be Black, like they were both supposed to be like Afro Latinx, I think. And it was like, what's it called? Love Her, Lose Her. And I really thought that it was kind of shitty. I didn't like the book, period. I didn't really like the storyline. But beyond that, I think the fact that the two characters were supposed to be Black or supposed to be people of color, just period, it wasn't well written. And I didn't think that their race at all was like in depth. There was no culture, like there was no mention of their culture, no mention of how their race or ethnicity, anything, how it like impacted their relationship or their life, their identity, or anything like that. And I feel like white authors don't have the range to talk about something like that. So I just don't think that it's like the best idea, because I feel like most white authors just don't have that kind of like in-depth understanding of how like Blackness affects your identity and how to like craft a realistic Black identity in a book, let alone like a romance book.
I completely agree. I feel like the amount of research that needs to be done before even tackling those characters are just never talked about in literature. Everyone's just like, I'm going to write a romance and they're going to happen to be Black. And it's like, there's a lot more than just your skin color that goes into it. So I completely agree. And I would actually love to see a white author do it properly. That'd be really nice to see someone put in the work and be like, I truly like respect you guys and I want you guys to be seen and heard. But I also do want to like promote, obviously, like Black authors too. But it'd just be nice if, everyone had a chance to do like good things. I don't know. Maybe I'm too optimistic.
Yeah, I definitely hope that happens too. I was reading some of the comments because there's like a few recommendations. So Naima Simone, I definitely like Naima Simone. I've only read one of her books, but it ended up on my sexiest books of 2019 list. It was very spicy. I liked it a lot. I think it was called Only for a Night or something like that. It was very spicy. I really liked it. I want to read more from her, but I just haven't yet. And also Beverly Jenkins. She writes a lot of historical romance, which I love. Her books are very like educational and romantic, which I do really appreciate. And then Rebecca Witherspoon, she's great. She's really great. I love her so much. My favorite romance by her is Treasure, and that's a sapphic romance. And it's just like, yeah.
That's in my TBR. Okay, I definitely need to read that really soon then. Okay, did I have any other... Oh, and you kind of brought it up earlier in the sense that biracial characters and how using kind of like the token Black guy to like carry the romance of the story. I was just wondering, how do you feel about trying to find the words to explain it? Like when it's done well, obviously it's good. When it's done bad, how do you think that reflects on like authors? Because especially I feel like authors of color use these kind of stereotypes. I don't know if it's to get published or because they like signed a contract for it, but how do you feel about when Black authors kind of push those narratives?
Like with interracial romance where like the Black guy is like a stereotype.
Like focusing on the Black trauma of love. And you're like, you're on my team. Why are you doing this to me?
I do definitely think that there's something to be said about that. I feel like some authors do kind of cash in on like stereotypes about Black men, and they think that it's like, sexy, like Black men are super aggressive and like hypersexual and all these kinds of things. And I feel like those stereotypes are not good. I feel like it just plays into like the fetishization of like Black people, specifically Black men. So I don't 100% appreciate it. I think there's definitely a lot of like well-written, respectful interracial romance out there. So I definitely like really love that like subgenre of romance. But I do think that sometimes I see some stuff that makes me a little bit uncomfortable, especially the way that sometimes like white characters will explain like their attraction to their Black love interest. It can be a bit weird sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think sometimes it's just such a selling point. Like some people really think that, again, fetishizing, like people really like this stuff. And it's just interesting because I'm like, we just need to stop buying it or something. Like everyone banned this like just subgenre. It's like, please stop doing this. I don't know. Maybe people really do love it let me know in the comments if you guys do like that kind of stuff. I mean, it's totally, I respect it. I totally respect it, but I don't know. I was just wanted your opinion on it. Yeah. And then also comment down below if you got a chance to read the book. So if I don't want to get into too many spoilers if not too many people haven't like read it, because our book was soft on soft, and it was honestly like the cutest thing ever. So I just wanted to start diving into talking about that. Did you have any like Black love questions for me or anything that you wanted to say on that topic before we move on?
I don't really have anything that I want to say on that topic, but there's some stuff in the comments that I wanted to look at really quick. So Mayana said that she actually liked the Tessa Bailey book that I mentioned, where the two characters, I think they're both Black, and I didn't love it. But she said she really liked that book, which is interesting. I think that is always interesting when people have like different opinions. But for me, it was just something lacking. It's not like the Black representation was bad, or I'm not 100% sure about it because I read it months ago, but I think there were supposed to be like Afro-Latinx people. But anyway, I just don't feel like she wrote about their identity in a way that felt like realistic. So they could have been white for all we know. Like the only reason I would know that they are people of color is the fact that they look like people of color on the cover of the book. And so I feel like sometimes there's just like more that has to go into it when you're crafting the identity of a Black character. But I can see why some people do like that book.
Like from the romance standpoint, you're like, okay, cute. Like I vibe with this, but like, did they need to vibe? What was the purpose?
Yeah, I do think that it's nice that some people are like trying to get more diversity, like published by big publishing houses. Like Avon Books is like a pretty big romance publishing what's it called? Imprint. So they're very important. So I think that it's great that Tessa Bailey got that book published. But it just wasn't like, it wasn't everything for me.
Good start.
Yeah, I think I saw one more thing that I wanted to address, and then we can talk about soft on soft. I saw Jess from People of Books and Panic Attack. They were both talking about an author named Brittany C. Cherry. And I have not read a Brittany C. Cherry book yet, but Brittany C. Cherry is a Black author, and there are a lot of Black authors who write romance that write white romance because it's easier to be successful writing about white characters. And I feel like romance about Black characters is almost like a subgenre that people kind of delve into, and they kind of see it as like a little bit separate than regular romance. So it's easier for a lot of white characters to be more palatable. So Black authors will write about them. Another author that I know like that is Maya Hughes. She writes like new adult romance, and she writes about a lot of white characters, but she is Black. So it is something that happens in the romance community.
Yeah, it makes you think like how much publishing needs to change. Like I know that authors take a lot of the brunt of criticism when it comes to certain books, but it's like, who's editing this book? Who's marketing this? Who's talking about like the behind the scenes, especially authors who have written so many books at this point that like each next book is the opportunity to do something totally new and different. So it's really interesting that I think publishing has way more to do with those faults than anything.
Yeah, Maya Hughes is Black. I've heard this from various sources. I don't know where everybody found this out from, but apparently it's true. So I was just as shocked as you are, Jess. All right.
Okay.
So I think we can get into talking about Soft on Soft. I hope some of you guys read it. It was so cute.
It was the cutest freaking book ever. Oh my god. So we won't get into spoilers just yet. So if you guys haven't read it, Soft on Soft is like a female romance, and one's more introverted and one's more extroverted. And so it's just this really interesting story about these two falling in love and kind of dealing with their anxiety and dealing with their job. I also really appreciated the fact that like one of them had like a set career in the acting world. What was her name? I always forget their names. It's June and
Selena.
Selena was like steadfast, like Insta model. It was very interesting how they also like embedded those little things about her being like an internet celebrity kind of thing. That was really fun. And then June's kind of introverted and like very anxious and dealing with those factors, I really appreciated it. So I want to know, what did you rate this book?
I rated it 4 stars. I really liked it a lot. Yeah.
I did too. Yay.
Okay. I'm glad we both agree. I thought that it was so sweet. I saw a lot of my friends on Goodreads give it like 3 stars, and I kind of understand that because I feel like some people who read romance really often, like, I wouldn't say that it necessarily is like amazing, but for me, it just was so sweet, and I really liked it. And I love the conversations that the characters have with each other. Like, they're just so honest about their emotions and like their boundaries and all that kind of stuff. So it was definitely something that I appreciated.
That's exactly why I gave it 4 stars. I was like, wow, I don't think I've ever read a romance book or any like romance like in any book where the couple actually talks about, I'm feeling anxious, or like being so honest. At one point, it was interesting. They mentioned how one character was so honest, and normally people use that as a way of being like cruel, like they're honest to like a fault, and they're like, no, you're being honest because you actually want me to understand where you're coming from. And it was just like the most open conversations ever. So I was just like, this is what romance could be. Where can I find like my June or something, you know?
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. It was just really nice, really refreshing, and I just liked it a lot. But I do definitely understand like the 3-star ratings, especially for people who do read romance a lot. Yeah, because Jess said she gave it 3 stars. It was too sweet for her. I definitely feel that. I love when a romance has like a little bit of angst, you know, like a little bit more pining. But I think that it was good that this book didn't try to be try to do too much or be too angsty, because it was a really short book. So I feel like if it tried to do like the typical romance thing where characters are like pining for each other for a long time and they don't get together and then they break up and then it's like a whole thing, I just feel like the book was too short for it to like successfully execute the typical like romance novel story beats. So I think it was good that it was like really simplistic and just super sweet.
Yeah, exactly. And I wish, like, I do see that, like, wanting that in the beginning of the book. It's not a spoiler at all, but, like, they already have crushes on each other. So I almost wish we got, like, 100 pages before that about them meeting for the first time and how they felt for it. Like, I feel like that part of the story was kind of skipped over and straight into, like, the cute, adorable, like, I have a crush on you. I don't know what to do. Oh, my God. So I definitely, like, it is definitely for people who appreciate, like, more of that cuter, soft, like, oh my God, we're gonna hold hands. Oh my God, we're gonna have our first kiss kind of romance.
Yeah, it was definitely that kind of thing, and not like super angsty or like scandalous in any way. I also really like the fact that one of the characters in this is demisexual. I think Selena is demisexual, and then her partner June is pansexual, but they both are kind of like uninterested in sex. And I thought that it was like interesting how they navigated that, because like, I don't know, for me, like sex is typically a big thing in most of the romances that I read. And it's like, I don't know, it's like a huge deal for the characters. And so it was interesting to read a book where it's like not something that they're necessarily striving towards, and sex is not going to be like, you know, this big relationship milestone for them, and like just kissing and hugging and being intimate, like that was really important for them. I thought that was like really nice to read about.
I thought, again, like you said, it's like so refreshing to see like a couple that's not like all about the sex. But I guess I know that a lot of romance readers really look forward to that aspect, which again to that this is a really soft book. I don't know, I like those little conversations and caring about each other. I also really appreciated the actual talking about like, oh, are you comfortable with this? Especially because like one person was more demisexual, and like, how do I like not force you because I'm feeling a certain way? And I thought that was a really delicate conversation that was handled really well, because I feel like sometimes people, when they write like asexual, demisexual characters, they don't really understand that like, hey, like you didn't ask, you just hugged me. Like I feel like every moment when there was like a moment, there was like not even like boring consent, because some people think like consent's boring, like, which is silly to me. We can talk about that another time, but like how it was embedded so well, and it was so natural in their conversations about like, is it okay, or like however it was written. I just thought that was also like such a great aspect for me. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I'm reading some of the comments. Okay, so Jayla says, I thought it was unrealistic that they went on one date and then automatically in a relationship. I definitely agree. It
Oh,
was it was just so fast. And I honestly just feel like I wasn't really reading all that critically when I went into it. So I was just like, oh, you know, they like each other, they went on a date, now they want to be together. I'm all for it. Like, good for them.
yeah. Straight up on the couch, like, be my girlfriend. Like,
yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it's nice sometimes to read a book like that. It's just really easy and simple. I also think this will be a good book to read if you just need something like fun and easy to read in between like other more intense reads. I think it will be like perfect as like a palate cleanser or something, because it's just not too intense and it's not really trying to be that. So I appreciated it.
I also really like the marketing for the book. I know this is self-published because it did not, like, it was all about like the soft on soft, and as you're reading it, it always talks about how soft everything is and how softy they all are. So I really think that they didn't claim to be like this, like bending the thing, and like it was just very straightforward, and that's what they were gonna do. I also completely agree that it was a little unrealistic that they had like one date that like went awry and they're like, okay, let's date now. But it was so short. So I get that.
Yeah, I think it's funny that the date actually was like kind of bad, but they still decided to be together.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, oh, okay. I also kind of, this is a really weird fact, but I also really enjoyed, again, this is not a spoiler, how many references there are on this book. Like, I don't know if you guys like watch have you ever watched Voltron or any of that stuff.
I have.
Okay, good. It's like one of my like favorite shows I watch with my dad, and when they mentioned it, I literally gasped. I was like, so I just, it mentioned Marvel a bunch of times. I was just like, this is like the book for me. It's like very soft. They're talking about like cartoons and The Last Avatar. So that was such a comforting fact to me. I don't know. I think that was like the favorite thing for me is like the references and how like the characters like felt about each other and their like cute little conversations and like, no, let's watch The Last Avatar or like The Last Airbender real quick.
Yeah, I like that too. I thought that it gave them like, I don't want to say it gave their characters depth, but I feel like it gave them like a little bit of personality. I always think it's nice when characters have like interests outside of just being with their partner. So I like the fact that they have shows in common and they like to talk about that with their partner and like their friends and stuff. I thought that was really sweet and I like that a lot. Jess in the chat, she said, I noticed she kept on mentioning soft. I actually like the way that she kept mentioning soft because I thought it was nice because it means like two things in the book. Like she uses soft to describe like the two women's bodies because they're both plus size, and I felt like that was really nice, like a really sweet way to describe their bodies, because I feel like a lot of times like fat bodies are like vilified in books and they're made to be like, you know, unattractive, something that you're not, you know, you're not supposed to talk about or something that you avoid. So I thought it was nice that she's kind of like fully embraced the fact that these two characters were like plus size and they love their bodies and they were like really happy with each other and super attracted to those like parts of each other. And then also obviously soft just because it's like really sweet and romantic and stuff. So I really appreciated that. It was a little bit like overkill how many times she said the word soft, but
I almost wish that she kind of saved it, because I feel like there was a one point when she first mentioned soft, I was like, oh, she used the title, you know, like that moment. But then it was again and again and again. I'm like, oh, it's losing some of its spark. So I totally understand that it was cute, and I get the double-edged sword with it. I just kind of wish she kind of cherished it just a little bit more. I don't know. That's just me being idealistic and like wanting it to be exactly what I want. And then also there was another word she used a lot, which was like enchanted for some reason. I just couldn't get over like why everything was so enchanted. I was like, I read it in sitting, so I really noticed everything. I was like,
yeah, I did notice that a few times, but it didn't jump out to me as much as like the soft word did.
Yeah, soft is 7 at least, like so many times, but it was cute, and I like that it had a dual meaning. And I also really appreciate that these two women were like, I don't want it to seem offensive, like when I say fat, I'm not meaning it in a bad way, but it was factual. Like these women were plus size women and they were so proud, and like one of them, June, being an influencer and an inspiring actress, and how she just wants to like be that role model for people. I just really appreciated that aspect because, again, like you said, like normally they're vilified, and I couldn't like imagine in a romance story where you've read so many where they probably, you know, don't love those people or whatever happens in that world. And I just thought it was so cute that these two women came together and they were like, I love the fact that you like, we look like each other, we like each other, like it's attractive to each other, and it was just like so.
Yeah, I really like that part.
Mm-hmm.
But like, do you guys in the chat have anything to say? What parts did you like? What scenes did you like? Which parts did you dislike?
Mm-hmm.
Let us know.
I was definitely gonna ask you, like, what was your favorite part about this book?
I'm trying to think because there were a lot of like really cute scenes. There was like, I don't know I can't remember exactly like what was happening in a scene, but there was this moment where they were like massaging each other. I think that like Selena was massaging June or something. And it was just like a really cute moment. I don't know. I just really like that scene a lot. I don't know why. It was just like so sweet. I think it showed like the way that they are intimate with each other physically without having sex and like what that looks like for them. And I just thought that was like, I don't know, it was a really nice scene.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Someone said, I just wanted to pop this up because I totally agree with this statement that we do need more like fat characters in romance and just in general in literature. I just feel like in any genre. So I just wanted to point it out. That's such a like big like point. And then let's see, did anyone else say anything? I haven't read it. Sounds amazing. It's like the most wholesome book ever. Oh, and you like the diverse mom? Okay, so one of the mom's characters, I really like the mom. She was really funny because at some points they mentioned that she's just one of those people that like barges into your house. And I just thought that was such a fun plot point that are like, oh, your mom's gonna come in at any point and bring in pickles. The obsession with pickles was really funny. But I did like how they brought in the mom. That was a really interesting part, and they brought in that little bit of that culture that I felt like was kind of missing throughout the book, where it was like these two women, and then they brought in that background.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The mom, she was bisexual, and I just thought that was cool because the girl, June, I'm pretty sure it was June's mom. June, she talks about how like it was really great for her to grow up like having a queer mom and knowing that she was going to be accepted, and like she didn't feel this need to make like a huge deal for coming out. Like she kind of just came out on Instagram and her mom found out at the same time as everyone else, and she never really had to worry about like not being accepted. I thought that was really like a cool plot point. It's not something that I see all that often.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought it was interesting that we only saw her as like, I feel like we saw a lot of June's family and like friend character. Yeah. Shelby was also really funny. Shelby is a non-binary character, best friend, and they were just kind of like the conscious of like June telling them what to do and stuff, which was really interesting. But I also kind of miss out on like not getting to know Selena's background. I feel like her background was really, besides her being an Instagram model and like an aspiring actress, I feel like it was a one-sided story, and maybe that's because we focused a lot on June's like anxiety when it comes to relationships and stuff.
Yeah. I definitely think that Selena was a little bit underdeveloped, especially like her outside relationships. They didn't really mention them all that much. She did mention her friends like in the beginning, because when they first hang out, there's like a baby shower, and Selena is throwing this baby shower for her friends. And so we meet her friends there, but then we don't really talk about them all that much after that, and we don't see Selena like engaging with them. I think it would have been cool if we could get to see more of that.
Definitely. And I feel like in that couple was so cute, and it was very like towards the beginning of when those two were like introduced, and like the baby, I just feel like there could have been like a fun like subplot that, but I guess because it's also very short, I don't know if you would consider this a novella because it was like 160 pages. I
would probably say it's a novella, because I think that most novels, like most traditionally published romance novels, are about like 300 or so pages, and then a lot of like independently published romance is at least 200 or so pages. So I would say that, like if it's less than 200 pages, it's probably a novella.
Okay, so that's why I thought like maybe that's why they decided to focus on the one character and really kind of
Yeah.
hunker down on all of June's aspects. I keep saying Jude. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I did also want to ask, what was kind of like your least favorite aspect of the book? I know it's a 4-star, but I was wondering if there was anything that stood out to you.
Hmm. I don't really know. Like, I feel like I just didn't really look at this book with like a super critical lens. So I can't say that there was something that just like really jumped out at me that I disliked. I do definitely think that it could have been like more fleshed out, and I think it would have been like so great if it could have been like a full length novel. Because there were just so many like things that could have happened. There was so much like relationship development that I felt like was really sped through. So I definitely think that if it was longer, I would have loved it even more, and I think it would have been more fleshed out. And I feel like more people would probably like it if it was like slower paced. But yeah,
definitely. And then you can add those like moments of tension that everyone like craves more, right? Yeah. I definitely think I don't know why, for me, my like least favorite part of this book was like the writing style. I don't know if anyone else had issues with it, but I was just at some points I had to like reread sentences and be like, what are you talking about? Like, I think it was like she was trying to sound soft in like her word choice at some points. Like, she was really trying to develop that atmospheric like, and I was just wondering if anyone else noticed that, because I was just like, what are you describing? What's happening? I don't know if that was just me. And I was just like, and some romances that I've read, like, I'm like, oh, that's cute, flowery language. I just feel like this one really hammered that in for me. I was like, you're being really soft. Okay, I get it.
I definitely think that there were some lines that I had to reread, because I think that like it was a little bit jarring to me, because there would be times when like when the characters are talking, they talk in like, I don't want to say they talk in memes, but they make a lot of like references to things, and they're making a lot of like inside jokes. And it's like, if you don't get the references, some of the sentences and some of the jokes like really don't land. And I also think that the two characters, they sounded like way too much alike, because there was some times where you got like dual POV, even though Selena's POV was like really underdeveloped. But there were times when we got like both sides of the story, and I felt like their character voices didn't sound all that different, which I do think is an issue. If you're going to do a dual POV story, I think the characters should sound more distinct. So if I did have a criticism, it would be that I don't think the characters sounded super distinct from one another.
Yeah, and I completely agree, because especially towards the beginning, the selling of one being introverted and one being extroverted, it was like I didn't really see that at first until like the anxiety took in. But at the same time, I feel like introverts aren't always anxious. Like, that's not why they're introverts, you know? So I also was like a little confused about that. I was like, okay. But I completely agree, where it's like they sounded very similar. And I guess like that was part of the whole story of them being like soft together, that they really paired up very well. I think that was maybe the aim for it, if that makes sense.
Hi, Kimberly. I see you in the chat. I appreciate you. I wanted to mention one thing before I forget about this comment. Jess said we need more romance with fat characters. We kind of addressed that before. My favorite romance with a fat character is definitely Zany by Rebecca Witherspoon. Or Weatherspoon. I always say her last name wrong. Anyway, that book, it has like the love interest. He is a fat man, and I love the way that he's described. Like the way that he's described, so I don't want to say like sexually, but it's just like he's described in a way where you can tell that the main character, Zany, she is like so attracted to him. And I just love that so much, because I don't think I've ever read a book where there was a man, like a male character, who is desired in the storyline that is plus size. I thought that that was like so revolutionary for me personally as a reader when I read it last year, because most of the time, if there is going to be plus size rep in a book, it's typically like the woman is plus size, and then her love interest is like some super buff dude. So I thought that that was like a really interesting like subversion, and I appreciated it a lot. So I definitely recommend that one.
Okay. Did you want to mention anything else before we get into like some spoilery things?
No, I think that's pretty much it for me.
Okay, cool. The first thing that I really wanted to say when I first read this book, because I was like, when I finished it, I really liked like the bonus chapter at the end. So just warning everyone, spoilers from now on, be scared. I don't know. um, the very end, I really like how the extra chapter, like the epilogue, was like X-rated, and like if you're not comfortable with this, like you can, because I feel like the book, because it's so soft, like, and it's all about like the intimacy without getting into sex, and then at the end it separates that moment, which was really interesting to me about like, and it also explained like this is consensual. So I really appreciated that, because I think that's also what people were looking for in a sense.
Yeah.
But they still tagged it on, even though most of the story was that kind of non-sexual tension.
Yeah. I do think that it was interesting because I feel like the characters, they talk a lot about like sex and how they aren't repulsed by sex. So I actually thought that it was like kind of valuable to add to the story, that like just because people are like on the ace spectrum, it's not like they'd never have sex, or like it's something that they would be completely opposed to. So I thought that was like kind of interesting to me. I haven't read that many books with ace characters, so to me it was definitely like interesting, and I feel like I learned a little bit too. So I like that.
I really loved it. I am ace, so I really appreciate that representation. And I think I've only read like one other book with an ace character, and they were like repulsed. They were like, no. And I feel like that's like the common like way to perceive ace, instead of like someone who has like a very low intensity like sexual drive. So it's really interesting that she like opened. I feel like she opened that door for me, like seeing that, because it's like really rare to see any ace characters in general. I think one book on my TBR this month is Let's Talk About Love, and I've heard that it has asexual representation. So I don't know. I'm trying to find more and hunt down.
Is that like that YA book? It has like a black protagonist. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the cover for that book.
I always like remember it by the cover, because it's like this big afro and it's like this beautiful. It's just a really beautiful cover. And so that was like the big thing that like I really like appreciated, the division between the two. Was there any part of the book like that is kind of even spoilery that you really want to talk about, that you were like, yes, this moment?
I don't know. I guess it might be a little bit spoilery, like the ending where they finally like come out to Selena's followers or whatever. I thought that scene was like really cute, because a lot of the book was building up to the fact that they were kind of in a secret relationship, because Selena's kind of famous and June is like a really private person. So I thought that it was interesting, like how the whole book was really like building up to that moment, and then we got to see the moment when like her fans were like supporting her and everything after they came out as like a couple. I thought that was really sweet. I like that moment.
That was a really cute moment. I completely agree.
Yeah.
I also thought it was really interesting. What was it? How a lot of the anxieties that June felt was towards coming out. I don't know if I was the only one that realized that, if you felt that way, but it like being noticed with Selena in public, or being noticed at the little gala they went to, that I feel like a lot of her anxiety, at least from what my perspective, because I know she also mentioned that when she was around Selena, she didn't feel anxious anymore, but it felt like a lot of her anxiety came from like coming out, which was interesting, because I think June's someone who is out on her Instagram.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting, and in some ways it didn't make a lot of sense to me actually, because June is already out, and they kind of talk about June's Instagram a lot. So I was under the impression that June is like a celebrity makeup artist in some way. And so I kind of thought that she already had like a large following and stuff. So I'm not saying that you can't have a large following and like still be really private, but it was just something about it that seemed a little bit weird, because they like the author portrayed June like she was completely unused to any kind of attention like that. But there was some indications that she's also like mildly famous. So I wish that was like a little bit more clear. It was definitely something I had questions about.
Yeah, because at one point, like June mentions getting sponsorships and like free like makeup and stuff from all her following, and Selena mentions like all her makeup looks. And it was interesting too, because it seemed like June was the least financially stable of the two, but then it sounded like she was doing a lot of private work, and she was like constantly hustling like throughout the story. So it was just interesting to me, because I was like, oh, I just feel like that part of her life was a little, like, I was just confused by it a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely think that there were some aspects of the story that like I said, if it was longer, they would have been more fleshed out probably. And I definitely think there were a lot of little details that are just kind of like, this doesn't 100% make sense. So yeah, I definitely agree on that one. Because there was like, when they went to June's apartment, she kind of explains it like her apartment building is like pretty crappy and like the stairs are cracked and like something like that.
Elevator. I've never been in a building with a working elevator. I was like, what a detail.
Just like, well, so that was interesting. I do wish that like more of that was answered.
But I do also, I didn't, because I've kind of been bashing it. I'm not bashing it in a bad way. I just thought these little details were kind of funny. But I didn't really appreciate the fact that the story was mostly about them learning to be comfortable around each other and like exploring each other rather than like the little details. So I guess it's interesting because I kind of like how it is with it's kind of like where we don't get to know too much about the background and we're just focusing on all like the cute moments because literally chapter after chapter, it's a cute moment. So I like kind of mixed feelings about this, which is why I think I gave it a 4, like you said, where it's just like it wasn't a critical eye, it was just like a really fun read and really like innocent and wholesome.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
I also agree that her cats were super cute. I really loved the like cat plot was so great.
I love that. There's another comment that says Talia Hibbert has a novella called Guarding Temptation with a plus-size male character. I did not know that. I actually, Talia is so nice. She sent me an arc and I didn't get to finish it. I got like, I don't know, like 20% into it. But I didn't know that the guy protagonist was plus-sized. But we love to see it. I'll definitely be finishing that soon.
Talia Hibbert's books are like all on my TBR. I need to catch up because I think like she's on her 3rd one at this point. I'm like, oh no. Haven't read one. Yeah,
she is like really, really good. I just love her books. I think she writes a lot of really fun ones. And I also like the fact that she writes a lot of different stuff. Like sometimes she writes stuff that's just like really cute. Sometimes she writes, I've seen her write a paranormal romance that I really liked. And it was called like Mating the Huntress. That book is like so fun. If you're into paranormal romance, she just writes a lot of cool stuff. I really like Talia.
Nice. And then also make sure to leave any questions you guys have down below if you have any questions that you wanted us to answer about the book or about anything else. Because like I know I'm a nosy person. I always have questions for people, so just leave them down below. But yeah, I'm trying to remember if there were any other cute moments in the book. But also like, how do you feel about the representation in the book? I felt like personally, like it was a tinge bit forced, but other than that, like I thought it was pretty cute overall, and it naturally kind of flowed together like towards the end.
Yeah. I think there were some moments, like, I don't want to say that the diversity was forced at all, but there was definitely some moments where it was just like, okay, so we need to have, you know, like we need to have a fat character and then we need to have a non-binary character. We need to have, it kind of at a certain point felt like it was going down a list, but then I was like thinking about it more. And I actually think that like a lot of times, like queer people, we tend to be friends with each other and like surround ourselves with other queer people who understand us. So in a way it did make sense that like a lot of their friends were queer and stuff like that. So it's not that it was like a bad thing, but it was definitely something that I felt like hyper aware of at the start, but it did make a lot of sense. So yeah.
I was really aware of it too, and now that you say that, that makes complete sense. And I think maybe it's because so much like when it comes to like queerness in books, it's like normally one character, and that's how people like the token character, and that's how we perceive like books and romance and things like that. But this book had it kind of more like true to life. But at one time I did kind of second guess myself. I was like, is this like a checklist? Kind of felt like it, but also could because it was a novella and was short. But that was just something I noticed, and I wanted to hear your opinion about.
Yeah. There was like a scene where the non-binary character was introduced and like their wife was like, this is my wife, and they're non-binary. And it was just like, I don't know, the introduction was a little bit weird. Like I would have been like, okay, like I appreciate like her introducing her partner with like they them pronouns and like, you know, stating that. But it just was like the introduction was a little bit heavy-handed. Like this is my partner, they're non-binary. It was just like, okay.
Yeah, I think that's the moment when I realized, I was like, is this just like a bucket list of things? But then like they didn't like bring it up again, and it wasn't like a big part of the conversation. So I was like, oh no, it's just like a detail, like of the person. But it definitely didn't feel like a, I don't know. I don't judge, but I like personally, it was just like a little flag of like, what's happening. And then, hi, Hannah.
Hi, Hannah. Yeah, I definitely think that scene and like the introduction wasn't supernatural, but I think that the author was trying to do something which I do appreciate, where she is very explicit about the representation in the book. I feel like sometimes authors are like, oh, you know, like my main character is Black or something, but then the characters never say like this person is Black. And you kind of have to just like guess and hope based on some of the like descriptive details and stuff. So I like the fact that she was very explicit, like this person is Black, this person is pansexual, you know, like I did appreciate that the representation was never in question. I didn't have to like guess and, you know, investigate, put together the pieces. I did appreciate that about it.
Yeah, and because it's such a short book, you could just dive in and like understand the character right away. I also think that maybe it was just because that's such a I feel like you're like, it's such an intimate detail, and you don't really like throw that at people. And because of such a short book, it felt unnatural to me because I didn't really know anything else about that character. I think that was like the red flag. Now that I'm thinking about it, like I appreciate that it's there, but then I want that character to mean something. And I think as the story progressed, you kind of get more of that. But since the story's not really about them, it didn't, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Also, I did think it was cute that they had the pronoun pins. The pronoun pins were really nice. I love that.
Yeah, that was cute. I kind of wish they came back, like at the party, just like hanging out with their pronoun pins. Yeah, I think that was all the questions that I had. Like I just thought this book was so cute. I thought the representation was, even though it was a little it felt a little iffy sometimes, I thought overall the story, especially between the two girls, were really just it was so heartfelt, and I also really like that it mentioned shoujo mangas at the beginning, because I feel like this book reminds me of a shoujo manga where you're waiting for those moments where they're finally admit their feelings and kiss each other kind of stuff. Yeah. I really thought that was adorable.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I've never read a shoujo manga. I hear a lot about them, but I've never read a manga at all, period.
Ever? Have you watched any anime ever or anything like that?
Yeah, I have watched some anime, not a lot, but some.
Mm-hmm. I have a list of romance anime that I really love, because I don't really like action anime. So if you ever want shoujo manga recommendations, I think I'm gonna make a whole video about it, because I spend way too much time reading mangas.
I would definitely appreciate that video.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you like the soft romance, and I think that's why I like it so much, is because I just grew up on it, where in their culture it's such a big deal, admitting your feelings, saying I like you is such a huge deal, whereas in our romance books and things like that, and in YA, that's really it's normally the first thing that comes out, oh, I like this person, and it's normally about their appearance and things like that. So that's just an interesting interpretation for me.
Yeah. Are there any other questions from the chat? Because I feel like we've really covered everything.
Romance manga is the best.
I will definitely be checking some out. I think it'll be an interesting experience. Maybe I'll make a video about it. Who knows?
I will hold you to that, because I'm way too excited about anything related to manga or anime. Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions, I think kind of want to send not a gift, but maybe what's some of the romance that you plan on reading this month? Anything that you are looking forward to reading?
I am planning to read some Black romance soon for a video. I'm going to reread one of my favorites from Christina C. Jones, and it's called Something Like Love, and it's about two bisexual people, and they fall in love and stuff. And I really like that book. It's a lot about self-care and yoga and stuff, and I just love that book, and it makes me so happy. So I'm excited to reread it. But I'm not sure what else I'm gonna read. I think, let me look at my like Goodreads really quick.
No, you're good.
I'm also planning to read The Boyfriend Project by Farah Roshan. I have an arc of it. It comes out like in 2 days, 3 days, something like that. It comes out June 9th. But I have an arc of it and I'm like 50 pages in and it's so cute. It kind of reminds me of John Tucker Must Die, if you've seen that movie. Like
Oh,
the
okay.
beginning,
Yeah. And what
the
aspect
beginning setup is like that.
though? Okay.
So it's like these 3 girls, they were all dating this same guy and they find out and so they like publicly break up with them.
Mhm.
And it's just like really funny. That's kind of like the part that I'm at now. And I just like really enjoyed that. Hopefully I'll really love that book when I finish.
Mhm.
Paperbacks and Planners said I'm reading Fumbled right now. I have not read that series yet, but I'm pretty sure it's by Alexa Martin. And I do want to read those books because the covers are gorgeous.
They are really pretty, and they're all about like athletics, like athletic
Yeah.
like, football players or something like
Yeah.
that, right?
It's all about like football players. I love that.
Hmm.
So I really like sports romance. So I'm excited to read those. Yeah, but I don't know when I'm gonna get to them, but hopefully soon.
That's always the hope. And I will bother you later for a list of all those books you mentioned.
Yes.
That way I can post it maybe on like my community page of all the things we talked about and what like you recommend. Because honestly, like I am just diving into romance, so I also want your recommendations, and I know other people will because you're like the queen of like romance in my eyes. I don't know. I should probably watch more booktubers. I'm sorry. I don't mean to make you blush, but that's just my opinion.
Thank you. I try my best.
Definitely. And I also am looking forward to the next round of Black Love, the Black Love Readathon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Since there aren't any more questions or anything, I think I'm going to end the broadcast here. I just wanted to thank everybody so much for watching. I really appreciate all the comments, all the support. Mina, for joining us. I really appreciate you and all your opinions. And then I did link down below links for like petitions to sign, the Blackout Buddy Read if you guys want to join. So just make sure you guys continue to use your voice and support Black people. Occasionally, just throw something occasionally, you know, spread the joy, spread the love. And I will see you guys in the later video. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye, guys. Okay.